Hey guys, so this is a follow-up video to my previous one that I made 2 days ago, the problem with conspiracies, which I will post in the description box. So how to say, I've changed a lot since then. I've reached the conclusion that the moon landing has been faked. So how did this happen? Well, first I reached the conclusion that man-made global warming is not real. I decided to be a skeptic and not be one of the sheep, like all the scientists. So anyway, some people may criticize this video as just a rehashing of Al Gore's statement that climate change deniers are like deniers of the moon landing. But while Al Gore was just saying that to make a comparison, I'm providing a very serious argument that the moon landing was fake. I swear I'm not mocking anybody. As I said, I made the switch from moon landing believer to moon landing skeptic after changing my position on global warming. So what's my position on global warming now? Well, the planet is not warming significantly, and any warming is caused by the sun. This is obvious because climate change happens on other planets too. So that must be the reason. But the other day, I ran into this website of NASA, which I will post in the description box, which says that global warming is due to human activities and the burning of fossil fuels. They even rebut the idea that the sun is the sole cause of climate change, the way you and I believe it. You would think no one would understand astronomy better than the scientists at NASA. So they would obviously understand that other planets also have climate change. You would also think that they understand such basic things as the activity of the sun. Yet they reject the idea of climate change as being natural. We're talking about hundreds of scientists doing this, not just one or two. So there's only one possible conclusion that I could reach from all this, that NASA is scamming us about climate change. So then I thought, if NASA's scamming us about this, what else can they be scamming us about? Well, with an open and skeptical mind, I started to look at the moon landing. So there's a lot of arguments by moon landing skeptics. A lot of these arguments remind me of loose change because the arguments are developed by people who don't have any expertise on the subject, but who have a lot of common sense nonetheless. Anyway, we already know that NASA is full of liars thanks to climate change skeptics. But what is the incentive for them to lie? And is the incentive big enough for the moon landing hoax? Well, the webpage I'll link to, the global warming skeptics explain the reasoning. The only reason so many scientists would lie is because of money. They would get $30 billion in 3 years for climate change research, and universities would get millions to study climate change. I'm not sure what the slice of the pie for NASA is, but I'm sure it's in the millions. So according to climate change skeptics, this amount of money is enough incentive for NASA to lie. And I quote that website, "No climate-funded universities would want to see that pile of money disappear." Now, I didn't know that climate was now funding universities, but anyway, I digress. So according to NASA's own homepage, they have $17.6 billion budget for a single year. 5.78 billion goes to the space shuttle budget, which we know didn't actually go to space. 3.5 billion goes to developing new manned spacecraft systems. Of course, that doesn't happen either. 4.4 billion goes to, and I quote, science, which we know they actually suppress. So I'll post a link to that budget. So they would clearly get more money from the government budget than they can possibly get from climate change funds. So they have even more incentive to lie about the moon landing and other space travel than they do about climate change. In fact, the moon landing hoax is much easier to pull off than the climate change hoax. For the moon landing, you just need a garage somewhere. The actors and the higher up people, they get all the money. Most of the technicians only look at a computer monitor, so they have no idea what's going on. You need to pay hundreds of scientists at NASA who actually know the science, but that's it. Nobody outside has any idea what's going on. For climate change, on the other hand, you need to convince thousands of scientists on many fields, not just astronomy, but many fields. They publish research papers openly, open to the public. So you need to pay scientists to purposely misinterpret the hundreds of false research papers out there that are lying. You also need to pay off the editors of the publish to publish these lies, and the editors of the journals to publish these lies. So since we know that doing all this is possible thanks to climate change skeptics, we know that all this is possible. So that means that the moon landing hoax is even more possible. Thirdly, most of my climate change skeptic friends agree with me that there's a one world government plot by the UN, which is trying to take over everything. And that's why they corrupted the IPCC report. Um, so, yeah, and the thousands of scientists all over the world also supporting the IPCC report for this reason. Well, guess one of the countries in the UN, Russia. Do you know what else Russia is known for? That's right, the Cold War. So all that escalation of war was just staged, clearly. The Russians sent Sputnik up to space. Well, that was also staged. That never happened. Their space program also wants money, just like our space program. So they have incentive too. In fact, when we started ramping up money for our military budget and for NASA, they started doing the same. Sounds like a plot to me, guys. Especially since we already know there's a one world government plot. So it's that much more plausible. So what's really interesting is that some ex-NASA members, such as Dr. John Theon and Buzz Aldrin, Buzz Aldrin, not Aldrins, but anyway, they're climate change skeptics. But as you can see, these guys obviously believe in that the moon landing happened. Well, here's the reasoning though. These guys are the worst of the liars because they obviously demand a high price for their lies. The money that they get for lying about the moon landing was enough because their budget is very, very large, NASA budget. So there's a lot of money to go around. So that money was enough for them to lie about the moon landing. But climate change money, there's not that much. So why would they lie about it? So of all of them, Dr. John Thien and Buzz Aldrin are the worst of the liars. So anyway, that's all guys. Remember to remain skeptical and deny everything.